All right, XML parameters in Transact SQL. First I'm going to start with a slideshow, and then I'm going to do a little demo. Hopefully it's more demo than slideshow. So the example I'm going to use is a function with XML parameters, and I could have used JSON, for example, instead of XML, but JSON's new in 2016 and XML has been around for like a decade now. I could have used table valued parameters, but they're strictly typed, and this is a general purpose function that I'm writing here, so I need the flexibility of XML. The purpose of the template is to generate a SQL. So this video is not about handling XML documents or using XML in field definitions, and I don't cover XML formatting or any of the basics of XML. Some parts, most of this is very detailed in my use of XML, but I skip a lot of stuff too, and you need to be prepared for that. I am not doing any code sharing here. You want what I got, type quickly or pause a lot. So, templates. I've used templates a lot. I use them for generating websites. I use them for generating model classes. For SQL, I use them for generating procs and triggers and views, and even bigger stuff like data warehouses. In early web development, HTML pages were kind of like a mix of code and formatting, and over time that's gotten separated. As they say, separation of content from presentation, and I'm achieving the same thing by using templates in that I want to separate my values from my syntax, and the values, they tend to come from system tables and system information. I have several functions for dealing with templates. This one is a lot like mail merge in that the template contains placeholders and then it's applied several times over. SQL Server comes with a template feature, and that might be something you're interested in if you're interested in this function I'm about to do. But it's not suitable for what I need it for, but I think it's a good idea if I just demonstrate for you what the SQL Server templates feature is. So if I were to take a table here and right-click it and choose Create, what's generated here is generated from a SQL Server template. So let me just show you where that is. Template Explorer. And then in here you have lots of topics. Let's just look at table for a sec here. Create table. Yeah, so that thing was generated out of this, and you can see it contains placeholders. And you can even go and specify the values for the template parameters. You see it's highlighting them. Okay, so here's my little sample database. It's just a part of, like, let's say a school database, nicely normalized, let's say, and tables contain plenty of foreign keys to other tables. And in my example, those foreign keys are not enforced. And not all of the columns within a table are foreign keys. So you got to keep that in mind when you're generating SQL. So the goal here is to enforce those foreign keys. So first I need some code that generates the information I need to create foreign keys. And here I'm querying some system tables. And this is returning everything we need. Here's a course occurrence ID, which matches the primary key in the course occurrence table. And I'm going to create a foreign key in the enrollment table. So that's everything we need here, and then this one. Okay. So here's just a little bit of an example. Here is my template, which has placeholders in it. I have them surrounded by square brackets. So if you look at primary table, gets replaced with what's in the primary table column. So let's say course occurrence, and then you can see down in this generated add foreign key instruction, course occurrence. And then column name is course occurrence ID, course occurrence ID. All right, let's do this. All right, so first let's just check for any foreign keys here. Let's just make sure. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I want to delete these foreign keys. This is going to make a nice demo of XML anyway. So, and I could just hit delete, but I don't want to do that. So there are the foreign keys I want to delete, but I don't see what the name of the table is. But we do have this parent object ID, so let's use that. There, so that's what we need. We need the table name and the name of the foreign key. There, that's what we can generate our SQL from. So that looks right. So now I'm going to demonstrate how to use XML in this situation. Now it doesn't look like XML, but it's a nice, easy way of putting the rows all together. There, now let's see if that got rid of our foreign keys, and it did. All right. So there you go. This is how you generate XML. This is I kind of did it in a way that doesn't actually produce any XML. It's just useful for concatenating values together. All right, now that we've gotten rid of our foreign keys, all right, let's take a look at how I would use a template to generate foreign keys if I didn't have a function to help me out here. And I have that same code here for generating the information I need to figure out what foreign keys I need are. I can execute this. You see it returns that table. And then what I do is for each row produced here, I take my template and then I replace column name with column name, foreign table with foreign table, primary table with primary table. And that works pretty well. I'll just run the whole thing. So you can see it generated 2 add foreign key statements, and if I execute these, that would work fine. And you'll see that my foreign keys are back. All right, so that's how I would do it without a function. Now let's see how I would do it with a function. Okay, so let's say I wanted to use a function instead of coding all these replaces. Maybe the easy thing to do would be to use a table valued parameter. So let's just demonstrate that. This is kind of an easy way for me to generate a table valued parameter. So I just created a table called A, and then I can script that out. There, now I've created a type. Let's find that. Here it is. can see the columns in it. I can script it out. Here's pretty much what I just executed. So let's try using this in a function. There, so I created a function that uses that. This obviously doesn't do very much. It's not performing the replacements. And if I were to try and use it for what I'm trying to do, then I would need an additional parameter here for the template. But I think you get the idea. This would be an easy way of doing it. The only problem is that the set of fields that I have for my function are fixed to these three fields. But this is a general purpose function that I'm trying to write, and I don't necessarily know what the set of fields are that are coming in that I need to use to perform the replacement. So I need something that's a little more flexible, and XML is a flexible alternative to using table-valued parameters. So let me show you the alternative I have here. In this case, I have the function available to me, and this code is very similar. If I were to flip back and forth, you would see that. Let's just get rid of this insert A here. You'll see that it's very similar. And instead of using a select to string the results all together into one string, I'm using this for XML path to put it all into a XML variable. And then, instead of these replacements here, I'm calling this function. You can see it's taking the template and the replacement XML. So that makes it nice and easy. Let's just try this thing out. Oh, I gotta delete my foreign keys. Run it again. There we go. So this is producing the same SQL to add foreign key statements, and let's try them out. So pretty much the same. I think you get the idea there. Now this seems trivial here in this example because it's small, but imagine having to do, I don't know, 10 replaces, or imagine having to code these replace statements over and over again when you're doing a much larger project than just trying to generate a few foreign keys. Let's say you're generating triggers for hundreds of tables, or let's say you're trying to automatically generate a star diagram from a flat file. All right, so let's see if we can figure out how this is working. I'm just going to get that XML. If I click on this, this does not look like the XML I outputted before, which didn't really contain any XML in it. And in this case, each value is wrapped in tags that match the column. And then there's replacements and replacement. Replacement is around each row, and replacement is around the whole row set or table. So let's see. That's the purpose of putting path equals replacement and root is replacements. Let's do that again. So I'm going to copy this XML. So now we have the same thing. Looks just the same. And now we can play around with this. That looks just the same. I can see it says replacements, replacement. Once again, just the same, replacements, replacement. this time I've removed the replacements tag. You can see, so it's one level down here. Here's one row, here's the other. All right, let's keep going. Now I've only selected the column names in our results. I could select only the column names. Row 1, row 2. Well, let's change this up a bit. Now I've switched that function to a value, and it says that value requires 2 parameters. And the second parameter is like this. It says value requires a singleton. All right, I'll show you how that works. It's not enough that I just put 1 here. I'm going to get the same error. I have to put this path in parentheses. And now I just get 1 of the column names. And that's because in this function I said only return 1. That makes it a singleton. All right, I'm going to change it up again. Should look familiar, but different. And now I've returned 2 rows, each from the XML that I generated, the same 2 rows that I generated into XML, but formatted as XML. So let me tell you what I'm doing here is I'm using XML functions, and I've used 3 of them so far. I've used query, value, and nodes, and there are a few others. So that's kind of a starter on how to parse XML using these XML functions. The code that is in the brackets is xquery. And xquery is very extensive. It's like SQL. It's an advanced set language, and I'm just keeping it real simple here, just as a demonstration. And really, I don't need a lot more than this, but that's as far as I'm going to go in explaining how to parse XML. And here I have 2 values that are a little fancier, just a little bit fancier. Now we see here we have a little bit of XML, which is just the column name and the value. And then that column name and value have been parsed out. I think at this point you could see how this would be useful in a function for performing the replacements. Okay, so finally, let's go take a look at that function and see how that works. All right, so here's the function that I called. It has 2 parameters, template and replacement XML. And first I generate a table. I declare a table. I like to use table variables instead of temp tables. And first I parse them into rows. Then I create a second table, and this is where I'm going to put the placeholders and replacements. And so here I am, I'm parsing each row. Now this is, if you're not familiar with cross-apply, it is very useful when working with parsed XML. So here I am, I'm taking each row which contains XML in it, and then I'm parsing it a second time to get the placeholder and replacement. And then I just loop through each replacement that I have, replacing this work value, which is my template. And then finally, I output some XML here just to concatenate all that work together into one result. And that's how it's done.